Bom, pessoal, bom dia a todos aí, boa tarde, boa noite. Quero agradecer aí a presença de todos vocês. Esse aqui é o Hangout Podcast, Fale com o Maestro. Para quem está assistindo essa aula depois, né, depois da gravação, vou pedir para vocês se inscreverem no nosso canal, ativar as notificações, deixar um like aí pra gente, fazer um comentário e compartilhar essa live com outras pessoas. Para quem está ouvindo no Spotify, também aí siga-nos no Spotify para ficar ligadinho aí nas outras entrevistas que a gente vai estar postando e que já postou também. A gente tem entrevista com Larry Clark, Alan Hood, grandes nomes aí da música, da nossa música aí internacional, além de maestros brasileiros como Hermes Coelho, Aline Sardão, foram outros convidados do nosso projeto. Tá? Quero agradecer a todos que têm acompanhado aí o nosso projeto de conversar com esses grandes nomes da música. O Maestro Laszlo Marosi é um dos grandes nomes da música internacional, principalmente voltado para o ensino sinfônico de banda. Ele é professor da Universidade da Flórida, Universidade Estadual da Flórida, e ele vem regendo o mundo inteiro, já esteve aqui no Brasil algumas vezes, ministrando seminários, regendo, ele já rodou toda a América Latina, então ele é um grande nome aí da música, e eu estou muito feliz em poder recebê-lo aqui no nosso podcast, abrindo aí essa segunda rodada de entrevistas. So, Maestro, would like to thank you for accepting our invitation to participate in our podcast. I had the honor of being conducted by you when I was in the Youth Symphony Band with Monica Giardini in 2004. And since then, I have been watching your work, and your musicality is influenced me so much. And in 2018, we met again in Tatuí. Now I was no more a trumpet player, but a conductor student. And you did a wonderful masterclass, wonderful workshops there for us. And it was a great honor to be were there with you. So thank you again. Thank you for participating of our podcast.
Thank you for the invitation. I appreciate that. It's a nice wide time range, what you mentioned, from 2004 till 2018. So you know me very long.
Yeah.
There are others who might know me longer because I was first time in Brazil in 1998 when Roberto Farias was inviting me and Mr. Hidas was with me in Brazil, and we premiered in South America his Requiem. This was the premiere of the Hidas Requiem in São Paulo.
Ótimo. Então, primeiramente, agradeci a presença dele no nosso podcast. Comentei com ele que eu tive o prazer de tocar na Banda Sinfônica Jovem em 2004, onde ele regeu, fez um concerto com a gente, foi a primeira vez que eu conheci ele. Depois eu comentei que em 2018 também eu fiz um curso de regência com ele em Tatuí, eu passei lá uma semana lá fazendo masterclass, aulas com ele, e ele comentou, né, que achou interessante que a gente já se conhece há tanto tempo, né, apesar de a diferença de encontros ter sido muito, muito grande, mas em 88 ele veio para o Brasil com o Mr. Hidas, que é um grande compositor, que a gente vai falar sobre ele, na estreia mundial de uma obra, a convite do maestro Roberto Farias. So,
correct.
Maestro, we can start with your, how did you start your music studies?
Well, it's very simple. I was 5 years old when my father, who was also a church music director and school director, he decided it's time to start me to study piano, and not with him because he's not very patient with family members. So he sent me to woman who was coming to our community in Hungary. I was in the west north Hungary at that time with my family and age 5, and this lady from a big city, from when there's a big university today, University, and Davide knows that because he was there. A woman was traveling with train twice a week to our place, and she started to teach piano 30 minutes twice a week for me, and I started with her. And after we moved to another city, and they said, "Oh, we just got a new trombone teacher. Why don't you study next to the piano also trombone? Why not?" So I studied trombone and piano. And after they said, "Oh, there is a music high school looking for wind and brass players in Hungary that the military is running, and they pay for you everything." And my parents were living in socialism, and teachers were considered to be enemy of the society. So the teacher's salary in socialism was extremely low. So they couldn't afford to send me to a very expensive school to study. But here in the military school, the best teachers of the country were teaching music because the army paid them more than all other schools. And the army paid me too to study there and work for them later. So I had the best teachers there for high school, 4 years, and I was keep measuring both trombone and piano. And they said, "Hey, you have the same mouthpiece for euphonium than for trombone, so why don't you add to the trombone the euphonium too? Why not? Let's have trombone, euphonium, and piano." I was studying 3. And after there was a wonderful band conductor of us, who was the favorite brass player of Richard Strauss, actually. And he organized the first youth bands in Hungary in the 1930s between the two world wars. His name was Erne Keil, and he said that, "Hey guys, if you want to be sure that the level of wind band keeps going up, you have to learn conducting. But who teaches here conducting?" He said, "I will teach you." And he, the favorite trombonist of Richard Strauss, he started to teach me for conducting. And it was recorded. There is a video recording when I was 17. He's teaching me, where is the 1, where is the 2, where is the 3? And they recorded it. Very nice, yeah. And after the army was looking for conductors because they were in socialism, the political aspect of every job was more important than your knowledge in the subject. This included in all the army conductors who were the best communists. They got the job. Doesn't matter that they could read music at all or not, they became the conductors. But by the 1980s, late 70s, the political leaders realized that without quality, you can't survive. So they said, we are looking for young musicians who wants to be wind band conductors, and we will teach you, we will pay your education in the Liszt Academy. Wow, Liszt is the best academy in Hungary, and they pay. Again, my parents don't need to pay anything. So I was keep going from the high school to the Liszt Academy, and they hired the South Hungary the city page opera director, and he was the symphony philharmonic director there too. And he was also conductor the Hungarian National Radio's wind ensemble in Budapest. He was shuttling between the two cities, and he was not teaching anywhere. So they hired him, Thomas Breitner. They hired him to teach us every Monday, because on Mondays there were no opera performances in his city. So he was free on those days, and he was teaching us for 4 years.
Okay.
It was
Maestro. I need to translate. It's so long.
Right. I was telling you too much.
I don't know if I remember.
If you forgot it, just ask me.
Sorry. Bom, pessoal, vamos ver se eu lembro tudo que ele falou, porque ele contou agora toda a biografia dele aqui mas assim, ele começou a estudar com 5 anos de idade, ele começou a estudar piano com 5 anos de idade, e aí o pai dele era músico, era maestro de banda, de escola, e também trabalhava na igreja também, era diretor musical na igreja. E aí o pai dele não era muito paciente como os nossos pais, né? Então ele contratou uma professora muito boa para dar aula de piano para ele 2 vezes na semana. Aí ele começou a fazer aula de piano. E aí, logo em seguida, na escola, ele teve a oportunidade de estudar trombone também. E aí ele começou a fazer piano e trombone. E ele foi estudando. Eles não tinham muita grana, porque ele cresceu bem no meio do movimento, né, socialista na Europa, tudo, né, a União Soviética, todo aquele momento né, dos anos, ali nos anos 60, 70, né? E aí ele começou, ele não tinha muita grana, porque professor não ganhava muito, então houve uma oportunidade de ele entrar para o exército, e lá ele podia ganhar um pouquinho mais. E aí ele conseguiu ganhar ter recursos para poder bancar os melhores professores e coisa e tal. E logo em seguida, ele, graças a essas oportunidades que ele teve, ele conseguiu entrar para uma academia, Liszt Academy, né?
Franz Liszt.
É uma academia, uma das mais top que tem na Europa. Inclusive, acho que o pessoal do Prelúdio ganha bolsa para estudar lá. E ele foi estudar lá. Ele começou a estudar regência, porque ele foi convidado aí por um professor dele, acho que o professor dele de fone, se não me engano, para estudar regência. E aí, lá ele estava contando que as bandas militares lá não tinha maestros muito bons, assim, não tinha grandes maestros. Então, o governo percebeu que precisava melhorar a qualidade dos grupos e abriu oportunidade para jovens regentes assumir esses grupos. Aí foi aí quando ele começou a trabalhar no exército como regente de banda. Então, ele estudou piano, estudou trombone, eufônio e regência. So, we are talking about your warm army life, isn't it?
Yes, we were there. I was told there, but I haven't mentioned just an information that my piano professor was also the top organist of the country, and he said not only piano but organ too. So I studied the trombone, the euphonium, the piano, and the organ simultaneously, and was traveling with him all over the country. He also became conductor of the blind people's choir, so I needed to work with them too for him to work with them. His name was György Peshko in Hungary, we said, and he has a younger brother who was the conductor of the Milan Radio Symphony for long decades. Zoltán Peshko, we say in Hungary. Probably Davide heard his name in the radio, the symphony in Milano. He was there for decades. He just died last year in Hungary, the brother of my organ and piano professor. So lots of connections, lots of but the most important good part of this was that I didn't have time for anything else, just study and practice and practice and study and practice. There is no other secret. There's no other secret. If you want to be better, you have to practice. If you sleep with your trumpet, it won't make you a good trumpeter. You have to practice it. It's not enough to love it. You have to do it. And this was good part of those 8 years that I didn't have chance for anything else. And my teachers were extremely strict. They were just pushing very hard. No, do it again, but go ahead. Fix this in that piece, but you have to start with the next piece. And I didn't have time to be in trouble because I was always practicing. It was very good. It was very good. Okay. And in the university, it was the same. And we also studied composition in the university. It was very good. I loved it. We needed to write pieces for band. First orchestration, and after lots of the original compositions we needed to write for the exams. I remember the first pieces that orchestration professor gave us. He said the Debussy preludes are really good to be orchestrated for band. So I did at least 4 or 5. The General Laverne, the Voile, the Dépassure Rouennais, all these 3 I rewrote for band. And actually, we made a radio recording of those all, and they liked the orchestration. So the Edition Musica Budapest, the Hungarian publishing company, they published those in my orchestration that I did while I was a university student. And after they said, okay, where should we put this young boy when he worked so hard? And I was 22 years old, getting out of the Liszt Academy, and where should we put you? Said, well, in the Central Army Band. This is the best band in Hungary. The conductor is just getting retiring. A violinist, a very good violinist, was the conductor of the wind band, who was also concertmaster of the operetta theater. Excellent violinist, excellent. But he was not really a band conductor as a violinist, but he did the job on political reasons. And they said, we will replace him with you. He retires, and you will be the new director there. My gosh, I'm 22, and the musicians 40, 50 years old people, and 22 years goes there to tell them what to do and how to do. Maybe you want to translate it.
Yeah, okay. Bom, ele está contando, além dele ter estudado piano, trombone, eufônio, regência, ele também, a professora dele de piano era uma grande organista, era uma das mais importantes organistas da Hungria. E aí ele começou a estudar órgão também. Então, ele, durante aí 8 anos da vida dele, basicamente, ele estudou muito, muito. Aí ele até comentou que não adianta você ter o trompete no seu colo e dormir com ele, que você não vai tocar melhor, você precisa estudar muito. Então, ele agradece os professores dele, porque os professores deles eram exigentes e não sempre puxando ele para frente. Então, toda semana ele tinha repertório para preparar, e com isso fez ele não se meter em problemas, né, porque ele sempre estava muito ocupado, sempre estava estudando demais. Então, o segredo do sucesso é estudar. E aí, logo depois, mais para frente, ele começou a estudar a composição também, estudar a composição musical, e aí começou também a fazer orquestração, e ele tem algumas orquestrações, inclusive são reconhecidas, ganharam prêmios, e foram publicadas essas obras, assim, que ele fez. Aí ele comentou que ele teve uma oportunidade de assumir um grupo de metais, né, uma brass band, que era conduzida por um violinista muito bom. Ele era um violinista, como é o concertmaster, né, como fosse o Spala. It's like a Spala, it's same, né? Concertmaster, Spala, it's same, né?
Concertmaster, concertino.
Concertino, the guy.
The very first violinist.
Ele era, tipo assim, o cara que sentava do lado do primeiro violinista. Então, ele era muito top. Só que ele cuidava dessa banda por razões políticas, não porque ele era lá. Ele não era do ramo, né? Não entendia nada sobre sopros, apesar de ser um grande músico. E aí ele foi escolhido para com 28 anos de idade, ele foi escolhido para assumir essa banda, e ele ficou bem, assim, numa situação difícil, porque ele era mais jovem que os músicos da banda. Então, os músicos da banda eram bem mais velhos do que ele, e ele era bem jovem, e ele assumiu esse compromisso aí, muito importante também. Ele falou alguma coisa também sobre outras coisas, mas eu acabei perdendo, eu peço desculpa para vocês, eu coloco na tradução. Ok.
You know, musicians are always funny and love to make jokes. And this wonderful musician, the concertino of the operetta theater, who was their conductor, he never studied conducting. He always had the bow in his right hand and the violin in the left hand, and he was comfortable with these gestures. So his conducting gestures were very, very strange. So the musicians started to call him that he is the bird, because he's conducting like he would be a bird when the bird is flying. You know, musicians are very funny. But it was very educational for me to see that a wonderful musician who who spent 60 years with the violin and never wanted to be a conductor, but on political reason, they forced him to be a conductor. So I got this group, and I learned that this is a service band, but the political leaders wants to have higher artistic level too. Maybe you can translate that, and after I will keep going.
Então ele estava contando, né, que o pessoal da banda tirava sarro desse maestro, porque ele nunca estudou regência na vida. E ele teve que assumir a banda porque ele foi forçado a assumir a banda, né? Porque eles estavam vivendo o socialismo ali, ele era obrigado, ele foi obrigado a assumir. E aí, como ele nunca tinha regido, ele regia que nem se tocasse violino, né? E aí o pessoal da banda zoava ele, tirava sarro, porque falava que ele parecia um pássaro regendo. Aí por isso que ele fez o gesto aqui do negócio, porque ele regia, era muito estranho a forma que ele regia, os músicos ficavam fazendo piada, mas tipo assim, ele estava lá não porque ele queria, estava lá porque ele foi obrigado a fazer isso, né? You said before you tell us this history. You said something, and I forgot about the history of the concertmaster. You said something. Can you repeat for me? Because
yes, he was an excellent musician, a fantastic musician, musician. But he never studied conducting, and his gestures were very strange, so they called him as the bird. But it's very good because you could see this is how you don't want to look. You learn from that. You don't want to look like that because musicians will give you names and they don't watch you because it's just bothering. What I was telling you that band, the Central Army Band, was the best band in Hungary, but they were 90% service band. Service. They played in military services, welcoming ceremonies of presidents, welcoming the festivities, political festivities of the year, and lots of funerals. Lots of funerals. So I started to tell them that I don't like to conduct for dead people because dead people don't listen to music. Why don't we play music for people who are alive? I would like to have concerts. And they said, okay, but you have to organize this all because we don't have connection.
Então aí que ele falou? Ele falou que então essa banda... essa banda era uma das melhores bandas da Hungria. Então era uma banda militar, era uma das melhores bandas da Hungria, e era uma banda assim, era uma banda de serviço. Então era uma banda que ia tocar em funeral, tocar em eventos militares. Então eles sempre estavam fazendo esse tipo de serviço, e ele queria fazer queria fazer repertório, né? Queria fazer música. Ele estava cansado de tocar música para mortos, né? Por isso que ele estava falando. Então, ele pediu para poder fazer mais repertório. Então, os chefes dele lá liberaram ele fazer isso, só que eles falaram assim, agora, mas se vira para fazer. Você que vai montar esse cronograma, coisa e tal.
So I established a good connection with the Hungarian Radio, and the radio had a project also to inspire composers to write new music for wind band, and I volunteered to premiere those all new pieces. And everybody got excited because the composers got the best band to play their music, and we immediately made the archive recording in the radio for the future. So I premiered all the contemporary Hungarian music in the radio, and the musicians started to get excited about that too, because they got extra payment for the radio recordings. They got the salary from the army in the mornings to play front of the parliament, in the airport, and in funerals, in cemeteries. And in the evening and nights, I brought them to the radio and extra more money. So they started to like what I'm doing because they got better financial situation.
Então ele está contando aqui que a rádio lá da Hungria tinha um projeto de lançar novos compositores e fazer apresentações. Aí com isso ele se voluntariou, né, para fazer esses extras com a banda dele e estrear algumas obras dele e de outros compositores. E aí isso foi muito bom, porque animou demais a banda, porque eles estavam ganhando extra, né, um dinheiro extra. Então, além deles estarem estreando peças novas e estar se apresentando, e as gravações que estavam sendo feitas estavam gerando um dinheiro extra aí para completar. Então, eles tocavam de dia o serviço militar que eles tinham que fazer, e à noite, e depois eles gravavam e tocavam música que eles queriam.
And after I was making more connections, we had a national the recording company called Hungarian Sound, and I talked to the director that why don't we make commercial recordings with the recording company. And first he said, oh, wind band, nobody wants to listen to wind band. Wind band is just a street noise. I said, no, you are mistaken. It's not entertaining street noise. We are doing aesthetic values, very serious pieces. But the radio already recorded that. I said, so what about the historical military marches? Nobody has any recording of those. I said, okay, why don't we do that? And we did that. After came the Liszt 250th anniversary of the birth of Franz Liszt. So I put together a project of the Liszt marches from several resources, some piano pieces. He had a march in the Tasso and in the big symphonic poems. Also, they have a march series. He also made a composition on the Rákóczi march that also Berlioz used in the Damnation of Faust. And I put together a full CD, lots of pieces, the piano pieces we needed to orchestrate for band. And I invited Mr. Hidas and my boss, the military boss who studied in Moscow, also to be part. And we made a second recording of the Liszt marches after contemporary more music that were not recorded in the radio. So we started to produce also commercial recordings with this is the best band. I did everything how I was taught. Learn all the pieces from memory. If you don't know it from memory, you don't know the piece. This was that my teacher told me. And he's right. I still agree with that. You can use score, but if you don't know the piece, what are you doing with the score? Reading the score and just making research for notes? No. You can use the score if you feel. There was a Hungarian conductor called János Ferencsik. He was the director of the opera, the Hungarian State Symphony, a wonderful conductor. He knew all the pieces from memory. If you ask him to play whatever Mozart or Beethoven symphony in the piano, he jumped there and he played it for you from memory. But when he conducted, he always put the score there. He always had the score in front of him. But if you woke him at 3 o'clock in the morning and ask him, hey, play Beethoven 4 on the piano now, and he would ask you which key you want, I will transpose it for you, whatever key you want it. And he did it from memory. And he was a Toscanini student. He studied with Toscanini. So I love to learn these kind of things, and I love the challenge, and I transfer these all. So those recordings that we did for the Hungaroton, they became successful. And I also connected the National Philharmonic, who organized concert series in the country. So I told them, why don't we do that with the Central Army Band also? And when there were no funerals, there were no receptions in the airports, I could organize concert series with educational background all over the country. And the musicians got extra money for everything. So nobody was complaining that why do we work more? Before Laszlo, we didn't work that much. So we could go to play on wedding parties, and we got a lot of drink and free food, and now we have to work more. But after a while they stopped because they got extra money, and they said, no complaint, we love that. Can we do more?
Ok. Então, ele tá contando aqui várias histórias bem legais, assim. Então, ele estava falando o seguinte, depois que ele começou a gravar lá para essa rádio, houve uma oportunidade, ele entrou em contato com um cara que era, como fosse o presidente lá da Associação Nacional de Gravadoras de Músicas Populares, né? E aí ele perguntou, por que você não grava a nossa banda? Aí o cara falou assim, mas banda é coisa chata, banda serve para tocar em coreto, é tudo muito forte. Eu falei, não, você não conhece a nossa banda. Nossa banda é uma das melhores que tem, a gente está participando já, fazendo gravações pela rádio. Aí ele apresentou um projeto lá de gravar marchas e danças húngaras, e esse projeto ele ia fazer transcrições e adaptações da obra do Liszt e de outros compositores e lançar isso aí. Aí eles adoraram a ideia, foi aprovado, teve que ir lá para Moscou para ter autorização, se eles podiam ou não fazer isso. Eles conseguiram essa autorização e eles gravaram esse material, gravaram esse repertório. Então o DJ fazia o serviço de militar e depois eles iam lá gravar o material, tudo que ele fazia. Aí ele foi criando novas conexões. Dessa conexão, ele com apoio lá de um projeto de uma filarmônica importante lá na Hungria, ele conseguiu levar e fazer concertos por todo o país, concertos didáticos, apresentando esse repertório e coisa e tal. E aí ele estava contando, aí ele abriu um parênteses para contar uma história de um maestro lá, que sempre o ensinou a ele a reger tudo decor, tudo de memória. Então, porque isso é importante. Então, não adianta você ter as anotações no papel e não ter na cabeça. Então, ele estava contando que é importante você saber tudo decor, tudo que você for reger, memoriza. Então, todas essas obras que ele regeu, que ele fez nesse repertório, ele fez tudo decor. E esse professor, que era o professor dele, que o influenciou, foi aluno do Toscanini. Então, o Toscanini também tinha essa mesma visão, de reger tudo decor, que você tinha que saber tudo decor, todas as partes, e as anotações das partes eram só como referências.
Yeah, and I started to premiere those all new pieces. This is how I got acquainted with the leader composers of the country. Mr. Lendvai, Camilo Lendvai was one of them, Frigyes Hidas the other, Arpad Balázs, György Ránki, and Laszlo Dubrovai. They were the leader composers in the country, and when they learned that there is a life in the wind band scenario, performing music, they got inspired to write more and more music, because I played it, we recorded in the radio, we preserved for the future, and Editio Musica, the Hungarian national publishing company, published those music. After Wolsby, the World Association learned about that repertoire that I premiered and worked on in Hungary, so they started to get acquainted and contacting us from England, Tim Rainish and Frank Battisti, through the manager of Editio Musica, the Budapest, a very nice Varga Balint András is the name of the person. I'm not sure that he's still alive or not. He had very serious cancer a couple of years ago. He connected us to the world, and this is how I got connected to other countries too. People started to say, hey, bring that music here, bring that music here. We want to listen to what those people are doing, the Lendvai, the Hidas, the Ránki, the Dubrovai, the Balázs, and I got much more, Decényi, and I can tell you more and more names. And because I let the radio be the censorship, they decided which music is on a level that we can play in the radio. And after they gave me the scores, that this is the score, that the radio decided that it's quality music enough to be played in the radio, and we want you to record it. So this is how I got acquainted with the civil musical world through the Wolsby, also internationally.
Então, ele está comentando assim, até esqueci de falar da outra vez, né, que os músicos também eles estavam bem cansados de tocar bastante, né, mas eles estavam muito felizes porque eles estavam ganhando muito dinheiro, né, Quanto mais eles tocavam, eles estavam ganhando mais e o salário deles estava aumentando por causa disso. E aí, graças a esse projeto, abriu muitas portas para ele fora da União Soviética. Ele começou a ser chamado na Inglaterra, porque ele começou a atrair muitos compositores, tanto na Hungria, ele citou vários compositores aí, que começaram a escrever por causa que viram a qualidade da música que estava sendo feita, e aí na Inglaterra também começou a atrair pessoas, compositores, que queriam que as suas peças fossem tocadas. E aí as gravadoras também faziam um projeto, tinha uma pré-seleção também, eles definiam o que ia ser gravado, o que não ia ser gravado, conforme o padrão de qualidade que ele ia. Então ele pegava as partituras com os compositores e ia estreando, mas isso foi muito bom para abrir e ampliar o contato dele fora ali daquele mundo que ele vivia.
And because the army job required only 4 hours from me for a day, the afternoons and evenings in general, they were free. So the Liszt Academy heard about my work, and they said, we have much more woodwind and brass and percussion students here that can play in the symphony orchestra of the Liszt Academy, and they don't play, and it should be a class. So please, they invited me to the Liszt Academy to establish a wind band. So all the wind players and brass players and the percussion players, they will be engaged in an instrumental ensemble experience while studying there. So I was working with them twice the week on the afternoons, and also the operetta theater heard about me through the concertino, and they said, hey, come here and conduct also productions. So I was conducting in the theater too, and in the Liszt Academy too, and my previous military high school brought me back to teach the band in the high school. So I was kind of busy. It was a nice, busy life.
Yeah. Então ele estava comentando, graças a esse trabalho aí dele, todos começaram a pintar muitas oportunidades profissionais. E lá o exército, ele só trabalhava 4 horas por dia, então ele tinha a tarde e a noite aí bem livre para fazer outras coisas. Então o que ele fez? O que aconteceu? Ele foi convidado pelo Conservatório Liszt para montar uma banda sinfônica lá, porque eles tinham muitos alunos de sopros e percussão, e a orquestra do conservatório não dava conta dos alunos, né? Então ele foi convidado para montar uma banda, então ele começou a fazer esse trabalho. Depois ele foi convidado também graças àquele violinista que era o maestro da banda militar, ele foi indicado também para trabalhar em produções de ópera lá na cidade, no país dele. Então ele começou a reger também óperas, começou a reger bastante óperas, e ainda mais ele foi chamado para trabalhar na escola dele, que ele estudou, para montar uma banda lá na escola, cuidar da banda lá da escola também. Então ele falou que ele começou a ter uma vida bem ocupada, bem agitada.
And after one of the radio concerts with the military band, an old musicologist came to me and told me, Laszlo, it's not enough to be talented. You also have to be educated. Come and make more research. Come with me to the libraries and let's look for historical material. And this resulted the book of the history of the Hungarian military music, 250 years. So when I was not conducting in the operetta theater, no the band rehearsal in the Liszt Academy, and I also started to teach conducting in the Liszt Academy, and no military band requirements, we went with Dr. Karsh to the national libraries, the Széchenyi Library, National Library, and we were looking for all the possible material that related to wind band, military band, and 200 years military music history was the book of the result of that, probably a 15 years research work. He said, it's not enough to be talented. You also have to be educated. And this was the motive why I decided to move to the States, because here in the States, you could get a doctorate degree. In Hungary, they didn't give doctorate degree for performers. only for musicologists. And in America, they give a doctoral degree for conductors too. So this all work that I did, the research work, the book, the performances with the concerts, premieres, concert tours, presentations, educational and artistic and theater work, this all inspired me. Okay, let's do that. And 22 years ago, I came to the States and I pursued my in the degree in conducting and music education, and I also got an orchestra master conducting degree and a PhD in music education. So and after they said you have to stay here in America and help to elevate the level of the American music education. This is that I was doing until now.
Ah, isso é great. Então ele estava contando, né, que aí depois de ele fazer todos esses trabalhos, ele começou a conhecer vários musicólogos, né, e esses musicólogos incentivaram ele a falar assim, ó, não basta também você reger super bem. Ele começou a dar aula de regência também na conservatório lá de Liszt, e ele falou assim, você precisa também conhecer mais, ser um pesquisador, conhecer sobre música. Então, ele começou a desenvolver um projeto de pesquisa lá sobre a história das bandas, Se não me engano, são quase 200 anos aí de histórias de banda que ele pesquisou aí em alguns anos aí. Então ele começou a viver na biblioteca também, lendo e pesquisando junto com esses musicólogos, tanto que saiu um livro, que a gente vai falar depois sobre isso, saiu um livro que em 2015 ele contando toda a história da música húngara através das bandas, né? Aí lá na Hungria não tem pós-graduação, né? Então, mestrado e doutorado. Ele queria continuar os seus estudos, principalmente nessa área mais educacional, né? Então, foi assim que há 20 anos atrás ele foi para os Estados Unidos, e aí ele fez o mestrado e o doutorado dele em educação musical, voltado para performance, né? E lá na Hungria só tinha, na verdade, na área musicológica, que nem aqui no Brasil, só não tinha prático, era só teórico. Então ele queria algo mais prático, e aí ele veio para os Estados Unidos, e aí ele foi convidado pelo governo americano para ficar nos Estados Unidos, para ajudar a subir o nível das bandas nos Estados Unidos. Então, é isso que ele tem feito até os dias de hoje.
That military band job, and in terms of the military ceremony, sometimes was very, very pleasing, very nice. For example, when the Pope, the Polish Pope, Johannes Paulus II, came to Hungary, I welcomed him at the airport. After he was kissing the ground, I played for him the anthem of the Vatican and Hungary. And when he left, he said, now you all have to come to Rome to visit me. So he blessed me in Hungary in the airport. And after I went to Rome, and he blessed me in Rome too. So the Pope's hand was on my head twice of that Pope. So I love the Polish Pope. A very interesting coincidence. 2 years ago, I was in Arequipa in South Peru. And it's a very nice city with a volcano next to the city. So it's a dangerous place also. So you don't see there any elevated buildings. Every building is just one floor, because when the volcano is active, the earthquake is there, the entire earth is shaking. And who was the first person whom I saw there? A statue of the Pope, of the Polish Pope, the Johannes Paulus II. His statue welcomed me in Arequipa, Peru. And this blessing came to my mind immediately. Very interesting. Life is very interesting. So Wasby made a very nice connection for me. This is how I got acquainted with Lorenzo della Fonte. He was at the same time in the Wasby, and he just said suddenly, "Oh, Laszlo, why don't you come to the Milan?" So I went to visit him in Milan. I had a concert there, and there was Carlo Monguzzi, president of that area band organization, and he said, "Bring your band with you." So I was bringing a not military band, a civil band, the youth band that I was also working. I was bringing to him, and he organized a concert too for that. So we had a lot of connections. This is how I got acquainted with Roberto Farias in the Wasby meeting in California, and he was bringing me to Sao Paulo, and suddenly Dario Sotelo came to one of the rehearsals and said, "Hey, Mr. Hidas and Laszlo, please come with me to Tatui." Mr. Hidas was watching me. Do you know this person? I have no clue. There is a car. He said, you know, in the socialism, this is how people disappear. They sat in a car and nobody ever seen them. Are you sure we should sit in that car? I don't know, but they are inviting us so nicely. Why don't we try? We did, and we ended up in Tatui. It was very nice. Mr. Hidas was scared to death. That maybe he said he has a wife, he has children, he has grandchildren, he doesn't want to disappear in Brazil. Can we go back? They said, relax, come with me. I have a good feeling. I didn't know Dario either, and he was not Wasby member at that time. I recruited him to Wasby, and he was very nice, bringing us to Tatui. And you see, my connection is still alive with the wonderful institute. So this is how Wasby helped to work and get acquainted with the musicians in the wind territory. At the university here in Orlando, I was teaching conducting in every level and worked with the orchestra. And my goal was to do all the Beethoven symphonies, even Mahler 1, that everyone calls it Beethoven 10. Because I wanted to prove that there are no categories as band conductors. There are only conductors. Doesn't matter it's a wind band or an orchestra. If you know what you are doing, it will be quality. So I did it to prove for everyone, no categories. And now I want to stop with that because I got lately so many other classes too that takes too much time. I want to go back to real conducting for the last period of my life, because you know I was working 24 years in Hungary, 20 years here, so the last 20 years that I might still have, I would like to conduct again, and probably more band again.
Ok. Então ele tá contando, ele contou várias histórias interessantes, né? Ele falou que a vida militar trouxe muitas coisas legais também. Ele teve a oportunidade de conhecer muita gente, e ele estava contando que ele conheceu o Papa João Paulo II, né? E porque a banda dele tocou quando eles foram lá na Hungria, quando ele foi na Hungria e desceu do avião e beijou o chão, ele estava lá com a banda dele tocando. E aí o Papa gostou muito do trabalho deles e abençoou ele, assim, colocou a mão na cabeça dele e abençoou. E aí o Papa, o Vaticano, convidou ele para ir para a Hungria fazer um concerto lá. Aí ele não levou a banda militar, levou a banda dele jovem, a banda jovem que ele estava trabalhando, e quando eles foram lá se apresentar, ele foi abençoado de novo pelo Papa, né, que o Papa foi lá e abençoou, colocou a mão na cabeça dele novamente e abençoou ele. Aí ele estava contando, né, fazendo um paralelo aí, que quando ele foi fazer um trabalho aqui na América Latina, ele chegou numa cidade lá que era bem próximo a um vulcão, e a cidade é totalmente plana, não tem como é que fala? Não tem prédios, né? Só tem uma estátua. Essa é a grande estátua, essa estátua enorme que tem lá, justamente é do Papa João Paulo II. Aí ele falou que ele foi abençoado pela terceira vez pelo Papa, né, nesse momento. E aí ele estava contando sobre as conexões, né? Como é importante as conexões musicais na vida dele, como foram importantes. Ele conheceu o Roberto Farias, que é um maestro brasileiro muito importante aqui, lá na Califórnia, conheceu também o Dario. Aí ele estava contando uma história, né? Que quando ele chegou em São Paulo, quando ele chegou aqui em São Paulo, veio um carro buscar ele e sem identificação, assim. E aí ele comentou com o Dario, assim, como é que você entra no carro sem identificação, sem saber quem é a pessoa, porque lá na Hungria, quando aparecia um carro assim, você nunca mais reaparecia, porque provavelmente você ia ser morto. E quando alguém pegava, você entrava num carro de algum desconhecido. Então, ele falou assim, ele falou brincando, que você é muito corajoso entrar no carro dele, mas ele falou que deu tudo certo, chegou em Tatuí e fez os trabalhos que ele tinha para fazer, e isso foi muito legal, essas conexões. Daí ele comentou que ele trabalhou 18 anos lá, se não me engano, na Hungria, depois já está 20 anos nos Estados Unidos, e o trabalho dele, o objetivo dele era provar que a banda sinfônica é tanto importante quanto uma orquestra sinfônica. O regente de banda rege a orquestra também. Não existe regente de banda, E não existe regente de orquestra, existe regente, e regente tem que reger bem. Então, ele fez, o projeto dele foi reger todas as sinfonias de Beethoven com a banda, fazer a primeira de Mahler, ele fez até a 10ª de Mahler com a banda. Então, ele fez um trabalho assim, que ele acredita que conseguiu provar que o regente de banda é regente, não importa o que rege. E agora, o próximo objetivo dele, ele falou que já tem dado muitas aulas, é voltar a reger, provavelmente banda sinfônica como um maestro itinerante, algo que ele não tem feito por causa das aulas. Qual que é mais?
Maybe you misunderstood me. I didn't orchestrate the Beethoven symphonies for band. I did with symphony orchestra.
No, you did. Yeah, yes, I said you did.
Is it that you said? I misunderstood. But I am still doing recordings. These are the last 2 recordings that I did. This is a recording that I did for a German company in Cordoba, Argentina, the Teatro Libertador del Sol. They have a very good professional wind band. And I did with them the Odyssey of Hope a couple of years ago. And the publications are all by the Verlag publishing company. He paid the band, he produced the CD. And the newest one from last November is Roland Sentpali, the tuba player. Roland Sentpali, the big name in the tuba area. He was my tuba player in the Liszt Academy band, and he started to write music there. So I was encouraging him, write more music, Roland, for band. And when I brought the band to Spain, as Banda Invitada to the Valencia competition, Roland wrote several pieces that we played on the tour. And since then, he's involved with band. And this CD, his own 3 band compositions. One is his own tuba concerto with band, and he plays it. He wrote the piece, and he plays the solo. Very difficult, but he does a brilliant job. And the second piece is a Rhapsody for he calls it clarinet, but it's not really, because the first movement is for clarinet, second for tarugato, third soprano saxophone, and the same player supposed to play on 3 different single reed woodwind instrument. And I had another person whom in '96 I went to Hamamatsu, Japan, and he was the concertmaster of the world wind band in Japan, a Hungarian clarinetist, and he plays Bence Sepeshi, he plays the solo there. And the last piece, they play a duo for soprano saxophone and saxophone, because Roland plays on everything. So this was published last November, and I called Toccata Classics in London, and they published this one. This was published in Germany recorded in Argentina, and he lives in Singapore now. So the world is getting smaller every year. And this is Roland music. We recorded in Gör with the same band as David conducted a couple of years ago. And very nice review we got. So I like that too. So I'm still doing recordings too. And also 2 group, one from Argentina and the other one from Ecuador, gave me a Peace Ambassador Award, because I am running from nations to nations and helping the people became friends and good through music. I used to say music makes people better, and I believe in that. Music is a magical touch, and those people who make music, they can be criminals. So this is just a wonderful possibility for all of us. And this is that I'm pursuing for the future. I always get ideas how to involve people more deeply, actively in music making process. So because I love people to be happy around me. Everyone has to be happy. Let's make music, let's involve composers, soloists, bands. So everyone will go home that got some nice experience and loves music and life even more, because it's so short. Even if we live till age 100, it's still short. And if we spend it with music, it's not wasted time.
Então, ele estava comentando sobre alguns trabalhos que ele está fazendo também, além de dar aula, reger e coisa e tal. Ele também fez algumas gravações. A primeira foi com essa banda da Argentina, de Córdoba, se não me engano, foi em 2015, pelo que eu tinha visto até separei um vídeo dessa banda dele, Regendo. Ele gravou essas obras na Argentina e ele mostrou um tubista muito importante, principalmente lá no país dele, que é um virtuoso, ele toca vários tipos de instrumento, e ele gravou um CD dele, né, regendo algumas obras, até algumas obras compostas pelo próprio tubista, e também algumas obras de extrema dificuldade que esse tubista fez esse trabalho aí. Foi lançado agora em novembro do ano passado, esse CD, e aí ele estava comentando, né, que ele recebeu também um título, né, de embaixador da paz pela Unesco, se não me engano, e ele ganhou isso graças a um trabalho que ele fez no Equador e na Argentina. Pelo fato de ele estar viajando muito para vários países do mundo, e todo o histórico dele, militar, coisa e tal, ele ganhou esse título, e ele tem uma filosofia de vida que ele diz que música faz as pessoas, transforma as pessoas em seres humanos melhores. Então, ele acredita muito nisso, que música não é desperdício de tempo, né? Mesmo que você, se você não tenha muitas condições financeiras, mas você tem a oportunidade de vivenciar a música durante a sua vida toda, afinal de contas a gente vive no máximo 100 anos, você não vai ser um desperdício de tempo. Você, na verdade, você aproveitou muito bem o seu tempo, porque a música tira as pessoas da criminalidade, do mau caminho, e faz as pessoas serem melhores.
Yeah, this is a so interesting question. When my conducting professor, the opera director and opera conductor, gave me the conducting diploma, he said, don't forget it. Do always something with the notes. Don't just play them. Make sure that you do something with the notes. You know, this saying brings me to the issue of the definition of music. What is music? So many people are talking and talking and talking, and I don't say anything. I find very interesting things. A very well accepted definition says music is human-made, expressively organized sound combinations. Okay, it covers it very, very smoothly. I can accept that. But when we see Beethoven, Beethoven said, I'm not a composer. Wow, today everyone says he was one of the best composers, and he said, no, I am not a composer. I am a tone poet. He was asked, why do you say that? What do you mean by that you are not a composer, but you are a tone poet? He said, I am a tone poet because I can convey a message without a program. I don't need a program for my music. I still can convey a message through the music. This is very interesting. When I came here, and it's also a question for you, when I came here and I started to study the music of the native Indians here, the American Indians, they had a very interesting philosophy about music that nobody talks about. I don't know why. They believe that music is not coming from the human atmosphere. Music is coming from the spiritual world. Music is a gift for us from the spiritual world. And the eagles are the connection between the spiritual world and the human societies, because the eagles can fly the highest, so they are closest to the spiritual world. And they said, we cannot apply human language to music because it's not human product. It's coming from the spiritual world. Like Gregory, Pope Gregory, he said, he's not composer of the Gregorian chants. They were coming all from heaven. A pigeon was sitting on his shoulder, and the pigeon, the bird, was transferring the music to him from heaven, from the spiritual world. Gregory Pope said exactly the same as the native Indians here in America, saying only the nonsense syllables can be applied to music, like doesn't mean anything, because human thoughts cannot be attached to it, because it's coming from a different, very interesting philosophy. And it brings us to the question, what is the goal of the human existence? Nobody has a clue still today, but more and more, I hear more and more that we are just an experimental laboratory, and somebody is watching what we are doing here, like we do with other animals, to observe them how they work. And maybe that we got the music just to have some happy moments in life. I don't know. They are saying so many things that we don't know. But I listen to more and more these big philosophers talking about that, and they say that we are basically fuel for the spiritual world. This is why we have to die. We produce spiritual energy, and music is a great resource for us for that. And I can just support every moment to spend with music making, music playing, being actively part of it. And just don't forget it. Beethoven said, convey a message without a program. My professor said, don't just play the notes, do something with the notes, say something with the notes. And I think this is how the music will become expressively organized sound combinations.
Bom, ele deu
I was talking too much. How will you translate that?
No, I will try. Ele deu uma mensagem muito bonita aqui agora, falando sobre a música, né? Então, primeira coisa, quando ele recebeu o diploma dele como regente, né, lá na universidade, o professor dele falou assim, agora aprenda a tirar a música dessas notas, não só toque as notas, mas faça música com ela, né? Faça isso virar música. E aí ele falou sobre Beethoven. Beethoven falava que ele não fazia música, ele não era ele o compositor. Ele na verdade, a música fazia, Beethoven said about, forgot.
That he is a tone poet, tone poet, sound poet, tone poet.
Yeah, ele falava
music can convey a message, can transfer a message without a program.
Então, o Beethoven falava que ele, na verdade, era só um poeta da tonalidade, só. Então, eram os músicos que faziam as coisas acontecer. E aí ele contou uma história bem interessante dos índios americanos, né, que pensam a música como se fosse algo espiritual. Era como se fosse uma coisa que partisse do plano espiritual e fosse para o plano material. Então, ele dá o exemplo da águia pousando no ombro e inspirando os músicos a fazer aquelas belas melodias. E ele falou que é muito parecido com o que acontecia com o Papa Gregório, quando o Papa dizia que a música dele era o Espírito Santo que o inspirava em escrever aquela obra. Então, a música é espiritual. Né? Ele até comentou, ele não sabe como é que está vivendo o mundo hoje, né? Hoje está tudo tão confuso, as coisas, a gente não sabe o que está acontecendo, mas a gente tem que lembrar que a música é algo espiritual, que que nos transcende, leva para um outro plano, para uma outra dimensão, né? Então ele espera que até pós-morte ele possa continuar sentindo esse plano espiritual aí, e ele reforçou a mensagem. Lembre-se que, primeiro, o professor dele diz, faça música com essas notinhas, né? Não fique só preso nas notas, faça música. Ele falou do Beethoven novamente. Beethoven, eu não sou compositor, eu sou um poeta musical. Quem faz a música são os músicos. E lembrar sempre que a música é espiritual. A música, ela transcende a plano, tanto para um cristão ou para um índio, a música transcende o plano físico e vai para o plano espiritual. I try to condense.
Yeah, very good, very good, very good. And we are very lucky with the wind band that we have better and better trained young musicians who can play on a higher level than ever better bands could do. So the very talented young composers are inspired to write music, concept music for the wind band, because it's a missing repertoire. It's just 100 years. We don't have music since the Renaissance, like the Josquin pieces for the orchestra instruments. For the wind band, we have concert pieces since the whole streets. That is just 100 years. And now we need really, really good music with high aesthetic value written for band, because we have wonderful musicians who can play that. And this is how the wind band is getting to sound equally important and equally aesthetically pleasing, like a good symphony orchestra concept.
Então a gente está falando que hoje em dia, então, a música para banda está muito boa, o nível está muito alto, porque nós temos excelentes músicos, né, excelentes instrumentistas, e a música para banda é muito nova ainda, tem pouco mais de 100 anos, né, que compositores têm escrevido ou escrito obras relevantes para a banda, né? É diferente do que é por exemplo, para cordas, que existe desde da época renascentista, já existe obras para esse tipo de formação. Então, a gente tem que aproveitar esse momento. I will ask about the Mr. Ridas. You have he was your, it's like a mentor. I don't know if I am right, but Mr. Rida was very important in your life. How was live with this great composer? Because you always play some pieces in your concerts, huh?
Yeah. I premiered almost 90% of his wind band pieces. Mr. Hidas was very important, and we get a very good human friendship also. His wife was a fantastic violinist, and Mr. Hidas was a keyboard player. And while he was a freelance composer, he became also the keyboard player of the radio symphony. He played the cello, the harpsichord, the piano, the organ, whatever they needed, he played for them. This was his permanent job. And because during the socialism, you were not allowed to have church music director job. They didn't exist. During the socialism, they didn't allow to have professions in churches. Only the priests were allowed to exist there. So he became like that. And he was very important. We developed a very nice human relation when it's another story how I got connected to him. That is a totally very, very interesting story. Very human and just very instructive. And since the first piece I premiered of him, we became friends. Until the end of his life, I premiered 90% of his music and brought his music everywhere. He was a real human composer. He knew how to write human music. When I asked him, what category would you put yourself? When so many people write atonal music, you are still remaining within tonality. And he believed that without tonality, music won't survive. I was reading Schoenberg's the statement when these old expressive school started with atonal music. And the main idea from Schoenberg was that how can we express horrible human feelings with beautifully sounding music? The music should sound also horrible if the feeling is horrible. But Schoenberg was smart and very intelligent. He also said, but be very careful with that. And did you know that Schoenberg, he was a classical music theory professor in California?
Yes, I know.
He was teaching classical music theory. And he said, be very careful with atonal music. And people didn't listen to him. And now we are going back to tonality, because if the ice cream would taste horrible, nobody would eat ice cream, right? People would say, oh my God, it tastes bad. I don't want it. So it's same. When the music sounds totally awful for an hour, people say, I go home. I don't want to listen to that. It's too much. You have the ancient Greek, they already said the Greek word, hyblis, balance. You need to have balance. you can't go any direction too directly. So this is how we got acquainted with Mr. Hidas, because he was. I asked him, what category would you put yourself as composer in the second half of 20th century? And he said, I am the last Hungarian romantic composer. And this was the link between us, because he wrote nice music.
Então, eu perguntei para ele sobre o Franz Liszt, que é um compositor húngaro, e ele é tipo é um grande amigo dele, né? Porque ele estreou todas as obras desse compositor. E esse compositor ele é um compositor tonal, né? Ele é um advogado da música tonal, né? Porque ele fala que sem música tonal, a música do mundo irá acabar, né? Porque existe um movimento muito forte dentro da academia dessa música tonal. E ele até deu o exemplo do Stravinsky, do Schoenberg, que o Schoenberg era professor de música clássica, ele dava aula de teoria tonal na Califórnia, ele não dava aula de música tonal. Ele falava sobre essa questão, quando a música feia expressa sentimentos feios. Para expressar bom sentimento, música bela, você precisa da música tonal. E o Frida se considerava o último grande compositor romântico da Hungria. As obras deles são muito belas mesmo, realmente. E o Fridas defendia que precisa se fazer música tonal para que a música continue viva. Maestro, can I show some video of yours, Conductor Fridas? I have one here. I think you are Capricho, when you conduct in Valencia, Spain. Can I show a little bit for the students?
Yes, please.
So I will share my screen here. Capricho. I think we did these pieces with his, in Brazil in 2004.
Correct.
Yeah, it's a beautiful piece. And I think you did again 2008 with the band of Tattoo Band. I don't know if
Yes,
you're right.
I did. This was the very first wind band that Hidas was writing for wind band.
Ah, okay. It's a beautiful piece. Beautiful.
1974.
1974. Então, eu perguntei para ele, eu já toquei essa peça com a banda jovem, e ele fez de novo depois em Tatuí, e ele comentou que essa aqui é a primeira peça que o Franz Liszt, esse compositor, compôs. A gente vai ouvir um trecho aqui dessa obra. Okay, Maestro Marosi had a problem, David. I think with his connection. So he asked for we waiting for him for a few minutes. He tried to resolve. Pessoal, o Maestro teve um problema no computador dele aí e ele precisou dar uma reiniciada. Estamos esperando ele voltar aí. Alguém quer fazer alguma pergunta? Já falei para mim já agora, porque a gente vai. Nós vamos já estamos encaminhando já para o final da nossa entrevista. I want to question about Brazilian music because you are you like you enjoy a lot our music.
Absolutely.
And what is the my question is, what do you think about Brazilian music and what is the importance of the Brazilian conductors putting this repertoire in his program?
Number one, it's your music and it's human music. It's not speculative music. It's human music. It's coming from the human society experience, existence. I love it. Those rhythms, those melodies, those fragments, the harmonic structure, very unique, very different than anywhere else in the world. And it just, I can't say anything wrong. I love it. I love Brazilian music, and I premiered lots of pieces. That wonderful solo clarinetist of the Banda Sinfônica, he wrote some pieces I premiered in the Belém Festival and several places. And Hudson, very exciting. Those Miniaturas Brasileiras. You remember, maybe we played it in 2018 when you were in the group too. And several other composers. I can say, Daniel Hevens wrote very nice pieces and very good orchestrator. I can say only positive things. High aesthetic values, and Brazilian music remained human music and not paper music. This is the problem for those the people who started to follow the atonal structures. That it just needs very intelligent, smart people. But musically, you don't need to be talented. You can still write those pieces. And this is when the problem starts. If you are not talented for that, something will be interesting. Those people can force their music to be premiered, and that's it. Nobody will ever touch those pieces again. But when a piece is played again, second time, that piece fits to the category of music that conveys forever lasting human values. And I think this is the answer why I love Brazilian music, because you could preserve and present forever lasting human values. What are those? Happiness, sadness, excitement, satisfaction, interest, curiosity, human characteristics. And while we exist as human beings, doesn't matter we go to the Mars or the moon or here, we will still remain human beings. And that music still presents and represents us. Shows how wonderful people you are also in Brazil. Same in Italy. There are several composers who write very nice human music, and they will be played till end of the interest of the human playing music. Because this is another issue, the recorded music or live music. I still prefer the live music. It's totally different than playing. Going home, open a can of beer and put a CD on or go to YouTube and listen alone. It's totally different when you are together with audience and there's a live performance and people on the stage will do their best to get a sound that will make you interested and gives you a memory that you will remember because it conveys forever lasting human values. And the Brazilian music is a different approach to the same idea of human characteristics, different approach because you have different history, you had different societies, different traditions, different culture. And it again brings a very interesting question. What is culture? Because several people say arts. No, culture is not arts. Culture is an series of activities that a certain society periodically repeats and became tradition of a society. This is culture. And music fits to the Brazilian culture in a different way than in other cultures. And this makes it unique, and this makes it more exciting, very human. I hope it makes sense, and I was not talking too much.
Não, it's not a problem. Então, pessoal, eu vou fazer um resumo disso que eu vou falar agora aqui, depois eu coloco legenda, tá bom? Porque a gente já está com o horário bem estourado. Então, eu perguntei para ele qual a importância do compositor, do regente brasileiro. E
Fernando Oliveira, I think this is his name.
Fernando Oliveira has a video from
the clarinet. Yeah, very good music, also very good composer.
Yeah, he's a very good.
I premiered a couple of his music in the Lane.
Yeah, I saw this video on Para Festival.
Sorry for interrupting your translation. Just earlier, I didn't remember his name. Fernando Oliveira.
Fernando Oliveira. Yeah. Então, eu estava falando qual a importância do compositor, né, do regente tocar música brasileira e o que ele acha sobre música brasileira. Então, ele tem uma opinião muito forte sobre música brasileira, que a música brasileira nos remete àquilo que nós, como humanidade, a música brasileira, ela tem uma importância uma bagagem cultural, uma bagagem artística muito forte. Eu lembro até de uma expressão que ele usou lá no festival, que era o futuro da música, era a música brasileira. Então, ele está falando sobre a importância da música, assim como da música italiana, como expressa aquilo que nós somos, que são seres humanos. Então, a música brasileira é muito importante a gente tocar, a gente estudar, a gente aprender as diversas facetas da música brasileira. Aí ele estava comentando os compositores que ele estreou, que ele conhece, como Múcio Nogueira, o Fernando Oliveira, acabou de falar agora, o Daniel Revas, todos esses grandes compositores, arranjadores aí que escreveram muito para a banda sinfônica. Woodson, mutual friend. So, Maestro, I want to thank you very much for this interview. It was a great honor for us, and you receiving your house, I know this is your second house, because and thank you very much. Thank you very much for you always be kind with me. I always see you being kind with a lot of people. So for me, it's a great example. It's a great example for me. Thank you for your music. Thank you for your job, your work. You are an inspiration for us.
Thank you for the invitation. And this is also a good accumulation possibility for me to see that there are wonderful young colleagues whom are interested to continue with this profession. And you see a value and you see an interest and you have excitement to do that. And I wish you a lot of energy, a lot of patience. And if there is anything I can help with, I will be the happiest person in the universe to do that. Please know that. So thank you for the invitation and good luck.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, David. Nice to meet you, David. Thank you for being here.
Thank you too. Nice to meet you. See you, Maestro. Thank you for the opportunity to see you again.
Thank you, David, joining us, and congratulations for your teaching and for your great students that they are interested in different culture, different people, and I wish them a great experience in your class, learn a lot, and follow your example. Thank you very much. Muito obrigado.
Pessoal, muito obrigado a todos aí que ficaram até agora, todo mundo está assistindo. Não se esqueçam de inscrever no nosso canal. O áudio vai estar disponível lá no Spotify, no Hangouts Podcast Fale com o Maestro, e no meu canal no YouTube, Maestro Israel Cardoso. Tá bom? Muito obrigado a todos que ficaram até agora e a gente se vê na próxima entrevista. Bye, maestro. Have a nice week.
Thank you. Tchau, tchau.
Tchau, pessoal. Tchau. Bye.
Thank you.